Nigel is back from his paternity leave with the worldview. Nigel, first of all, congrats, father again, and tell us about the worldview. By the way, your life is going to change once again.
Absolutely, Anuj. It changed a whole lot, and in fact, slept less, but happy to be back. But I'll tell you what, you all had a raging market. I had a raging time at home with both those two multi-baggers that I've got. But let's move on then and tell you about the worldview. Well, the equity markets did well in the US on Friday itself. They ended well in the green. There were two factors that played out. One was the fact that, in fact, negotiations with regard to a stimulus, they appear to be moving ahead. And President Trump, he confirmed that. He said the negotiations have restarted and his advice was to go big. That's what he put out in terms of a tweet. The other factor was the investors out there, they're welcoming a fact that maybe we'll get a decisive result with regard to the US presidential elections in the next 25 days. And, you had a couple of brokerages that came out there. They said that, in fact, they're expecting Biden to maybe have a higher probability of winning. UBS, they put out a note out there. Either which ways, whoever wins, you're likely to get a stimulus. And on the back of that, you have the dollar index that's weakened. Remember, just last week itself, it had moved nearly to around, the 94-odd mark. It's corrected from there closer towards 93. If that's the case, you'll have gold prices as well that have moved up. So that was holding at around $1,930 odd. And Brent crude prices that were up 8 to 9% in the past week. There's a strike in Norway that's been called off, and that's where you're seeing some profit booking out there. In terms of the European markets, though, they as well, ended well in the green. This week, we'll be looking at earnings reactions as well from the United States. JP Morgan as well as Delta Airlines, both of them come out of the set of numbers. European markets ended in the green. You had a couple of stocks out there. Rolls-Royce was up nearly around 14% odd in reaction to the announcement of a rights issue. But in terms of economic data, well, yes, you're having some growth in terms of GDP numbers. The UK numbers did come out there, but the expectation was for a growth of around 4 to around 4.5% odd. Asian markets today, more green than red. And on the back of that, the SGX Nifty is indicating a positive start. Back to you guys.
Okay, thank you very much, Nigel. And once again, from all of us, warm greetings for becoming a father of a little girl. Nigel's first is a boy, so that is a great complete family. And as you said, multi-baggers, best of luck, and God bless the two little ones. Okay, well, with that, we have to get back to business. And awaiting us is a very important guest, Rana Gupta, the Managing Director at Manulife Investment Management. He joins us now. Good morning, Rana. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. First, I wanted to ask you, since you're a practiced eye in global markets, it looks like Biden now is more than nose ahead, is a league ahead perhaps, and he is quite clearly talking about a rise in tax rate from 21% to 28%. The market is cheering nevertheless. So is that in the price? Should the market not react badly if Trump doesn't return?
So first of all, we think that as long as we have a decisive outcome of the election, the markets, the risk-on sentiment should be all right. That's number one. On your specific question on Biden's tax raise, our base case is the tax raise will eventually happen, but given the current economic conditions, it may be staggered or deferred. And on Biden's economic plan, more importantly, he plans to spend more than $2 trillion on infrastructure and green package and all those things. So that could be a significant stimulus to the economy should Biden win and should this plan be implemented.
Okay. Rana, good morning. What about the Indian market? We had the policy on Friday, and it looks like, at least the worst of the GDP contraction is over. But you think now it's in the price for the markets?
So worst of the GDP contraction is definitely over. I think, the last quarter was minus 24%. It really cannot get worse than that. But the recovery from that is a bit uneven. The recovery from that will be, different across the sectors, but the worst is definitely behind. And as far as the pricing in the markets are concerned, we do expect that going forward, the GDP growth will return to positive maybe in Q4. And in next financial year, we can expect fairly strong GDP growth should our assumptions on the vaccine rollout globally kind of pan out. We would continue to expect stronger capital flows to the emerging markets, including India. So therefore, it will not be right to say that the entire recovery is priced in, because it is quite possible that in the next financial year, thanks to capital flows, thanks to a benign base, thanks to the pent-up demand, the growth could even surprise on the upside.
Well, Rana, that's exactly what we were discussing a minute ago. The consensus expectation is that India's GDP contracts by 10% this year and expands by 10% next year. This is the Reserve Bank's forecast as well. That is the latest we've got. So this means at the end of FY22, we are going to be where we were in FY20 in terms of GDP. So, I mean, is there a case to go beyond our February highs? February Nifty was at 12,400. Is there a case for going beyond that?
So first of all, like we were discussing, that the growth can indeed surprise on the upside. But even let's say that is true, that we end by FY22 we are just equal to, let's say, FY20 levels. In that case, should we go higher or not? To answer to that question will be yes, because when this kind of disruption happens, the organized sector gains market share, and stock market represents the organized sector. So organized sector companies are gaining market share. On the other hand, the profitability is improving. If you look at Lata, all the numbers that has come out, the top line got down by 15-20%. The profits fell much less because of the exceptional cost control showed by the company. We don't think when the top line comes back, all the costs are going to come back. So I think the short answer to your question is, I think top line growth will be led by market share gains, and the bottom line growth will be led by the cost control measures that the companies have put in place.
Okay, that's interesting. Rana, hi, good morning. I was going through your note where you track many bottom-up indicators, and there you mentioned that a rise in bitumen consumption points to a pickup in the construction sector. What exactly is this bitumen consumption metrics that you track? And because there is a pickup in construction, do you think industrial activity has moved, and hence it's good to perhaps look at this sector as an investment opportunity?
See, bitumen is used in all the construction, including road building and whatnot, right? And this jump that we see, we are looking at the ground construction activity. This could be various type of construction activities. We will not extrapolate it to whether this becomes a very good opportunity to invest in the industrial sectors or whatnot, because the swing that comes from the industrial sector typically comes with the rise in capacity utilization. Right now, as we speak today, there is significant slack capacity available. So that needs to be utilized first. In fact, that slack capacity is one of the reasons why we are expecting faster profit growth. Once the capacity utilization reaches a certain level, then we should think about capex, and then we should think about industrial sectors as an investment opportunity.
Okay. So yeah, actually, my question also was in the same vein, Rana. Would you bet, therefore, already on economy cyclicals? Or would you go with the pack that has now been rising, IT and pharma?
That's the tough one to answer, because even IT companies have given very good results. We have been highlighting through our thematic notes that the pharma and the chemical is a structural story as India gains more market share in the export market. We have been highlighting that. So on the other hand, you have economic reopening going on, and as a result, the cyclicals like a consumer discretionary, whether it's retail and auto, they're coming back. And also we think, at least for the larger private sector banks, the market is a bit pessimistic, because we don't think the asset quality troubles will be as much as the market's expecting. There's a possibility that asset quality troubles will be well within what the consensus is expecting. So I think even the consumer discretionary and the financials, the domestic cyclicals, they also look good. IT, pharma, and honestly, they still continue to look good, because particularly the chemical sector, which is some within pharma, some within materials, that also continues to look good.
Okay, again going through your note, you're less constructive on both communication services and consumer staples because you believe valuations have re-rated. I wanted to discuss more on telecom, because that's where we've started to see a big decline in Bharti. So, what makes you bearish on telecom?
See, telecom as such, it's a telecom as such. We were expecting that the industry will grow a bit faster than it is what is today, because telecom is already fairly well penetrated. The growth has to come from rising average revenue per user. However, that hope is not really working out, because the ARPU growth, in our view, lags the expectation. And the analysts, the consensus has factored in far faster growth rate in average revenue per user. We think there is scope of disappointment there, and particularly for one telecom company in particular, they have quite a bit of debt on their balance sheet also. So if you do not have top line growth in line with expectation and the fixed cost, it's a very high fixed cost nature of the industry, and along with that high debt, then the stock may not perform. Stocks may not underperform. So that's the view on the telecom sector.
Okay. One more structural theme that you're bullish on is this import substitution plays that will benefit perhaps from the government's policy of encouraging domestic manufacturing. In that you talk about EMS companies and auto ancillaries. Auto ancillaries I understand, but what are these EMS companies, and is this sort of a theme that one can play for the next 6 to 12 months?
So I think this is not just 6 to 12 months. This is this theme can last far more. So let me take a step back and explain. I think the government has encouraged this kind of manufacturing not from today, for some time now. They have put import duties in place. There are manufacturing-linked incentives, and also there was a tax cut for fresh investments on this. EMS is electronic manufacturing. There are currently those companies can be classified as small and mid cap. There are many companies who are coming up who will be ancillary to, let's say, the consumer goods manufacturing. The way to think about this, like about auto ancillary companies, similarly, when you think about consumer goods or electronics like a mobile phone, laptop, TVs, consider these companies as ancillary to them. So those in terms called EMS. This concept is very popular in East Asia. There are various Taiwanese companies who do EMS for example, the largest cell phone producer of mobile phone. So I think that is one segment where India is to largely import from China and other countries. We think that domestic production is going up, and that is a trend that has just started. And right now it has only showing in volume, but it should go in forward, show up in value as well as more and more valuation happens within India.
Okay. Well, Rana, I have a final question, which I think I'm going to ask every important guest who comes today. The RBI signaled something very big. They were told to keep inflation at 4% plus or minus 2%. But now the clear interpretation is we want inflation to remain within 6%. So, their own forecast is for the next 18 months, inflation is not getting anywhere under 4%. Now, if the RBI is comfortable with the 6% inflation, how do you play that in stock markets? Because it will definitely mean an EPS inflation.
Oh, yes, that's right. I think it is not just RBI. Let's say we take a step back and look at the commentaries of all the central bankers around the world.
Yes.
They are saying that they will allow inflation to now sustain at high levels. They want to see inflation higher.
Yes.
At the same time, giving a forward guidance of keeping the rates lower. In very simple terms, what it means is the real rate is going to be negative. And real rate negative is usually good for asset prices, is very good for more transaction in the economy. Therefore, for a company, this means higher turnover, and if they could keep the cost under control, higher profitability.
Okay, so that generally is a boost for everybody and not specific sectors. Rana Gupta, it's always a pleasure having you with us. Thank you very much for sparing time for us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's an important voice saying that there is no reason why you should believe that all the good news is in the price, and organized sector runs faster. So both GDP can surprise on the upside and organized sector poised to surprise on the upside. And that's why India becomes a buy. We take a break on that note, and our entire research team joins in to list the top 10 stocks they're watching.